It's my pleasure and privilege to participate in the Economic Times Digitech Conclave, which is coming up closely following the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. We have just completed 75 years of independent India. While 75 years is long in the life of a human being, it's very short in a nation's history. In the span of 75 years, we have proved ourselves to be the largest democratic country in the world. We also are in the fifth largest economy globally, with a GDP of about $3 trillion. And we are aspiring to be among the top three economies very soon. While we achieved political, social, and economic independence, the mood person is, have we achieved technological independence? Are we depending still significantly in the products and technologies developed outside India? It's a debatable point, and from out of the debate, of course, something good will emerge, I'm sure. The topic for the day is of the session is digital transformation journey, the present and the future. I've had the opportunity of observing at close quarters the development of the technologies, especially the IT, during the last 30 years. From the early days when we used to call it computerization, later on to e-government and to e-governance, then on to m-governance and digital governance. And of late, it's been called digital transformation. Of course, this change of terminology is not merely a new coinage to keep people's attention going. There has been, a significant change in not only in the technologies but the way we use those technologies for the benefit of people. I've had the unique opportunity to implement 25 transformational e-governance projects in the last 2.5 decades, and projects like e-Seva and me-Seva, e-procurement and passport Seva, MCA 21, and so on. So these projects have made a significant difference to the lives of the people, millions of people, and it's a sense of great satisfaction for me. When we talk of the present and future, earlier the debate used to be on the need to move from services economy to a product based industry. Now, the debate is really to move from products to platforms and from platforms to protocols. So another trend that I have been seeing is the need to move from IT to ET. IT to ET is the movement we should aspire for at this point of time, so that the future is again, secure and bright for us. So ET, what is ET here? It has two implications. ET can mean emerging technology. ET can also mean ecosystem technology. So both these are important at this juncture in the history of technology. The emerging technologies, we have almost 10 plus technologies which are grouped under the name of emerging technologies, which are like artificial intelligence, machine learning, IoT, and advanced manufacturing, BT and DLT, and so on. So we need to reorient our systems to education systems as well as the experiential systems in terms of the emerging technologies. How you can develop those technologies, number one, and how we can deploy them responsibly so that the society is benefited in a safe and secure manner. The second aspect of ET is about ecosystem technologies. What is this ecosystem? We have very good example and The classic example, probably unparalleled example of an ecosystem, which is the internet, which is a protocol-driven ecosystem, which is 30 plus years old. In the sense that why is it a great example? Just let us ask ourselves a few simple questions. Who owns the internet? No one, strictly. Who controls the internet? No one, strictly. You can just go onto the internet from anywhere, anytime. Who architects, designs, develops the internet? There is no single agency. So it's the really internet that belongs to the community. I think that's a goal we should aspire for in whatever major digital initiative we are taking. Not only here in India, but anywhere. So it's a phenomenal example of self-organizing digital ecosystem is the internet. So we must emulate that example of the internet model for developing the open digital ecosystems, or ODEs as we call them. So the transition from IT to ET, I think, is to be inspired by things like internet. Of course, we have examples in this country like the Aadhaar, which is a large ecosystem which has been playing a key role in the country's progress in the digital services. And also examples like GSTN, UPI, CoWIN, the latest example during the pandemic, which is again based on open ecosystem approach. And the upcoming ONDC is another great example of this principle of open digital ecosystems. Now, let me speak briefly about what is required to develop more and more such ODEs. We need to base ourselves on a set of principles which are sound and hold their ground for a long time, despite the change of the underlying technologies. So, the internet again is an example. It's a set of simple principles, they were laid down for internet. So we derive inspiration from that again. So what are those 6 principles that I can quote as seminal, for this purpose for developing the ODEs, open digital ecosystems? The first one is develop these systems as, or let them evolve as digital public good. DPG is the first keyword, which means that we need to commit ourselves to 3 O's: open standards, open source, open APIs. Open, open, and open. That is the first principle. The second one is being user-centric, user-controlled, and user-driven. The user, the citizen, the farmer, the patient, the student, the teacher, they should be on the center stage. And the system should be designed, ecosystem should revolve around them and develop around them. The third principle is of interoperability, which is a technical neutrality. And also, only the core building blocks need to be developed and maintained by the sponsor of the ODE. Rest, the entire ecosystem should develop the rest of the things. It should be enabling. The government should possibly play the role of an enabler and a facilitator, and the rest should be done by the industry and the academia. The fourth principle is the one of transparency and trust, where the entire processes through which we are doing the developments and designs, they're all through a consultative process. Increasingly, we are seeing that any draft, anything is getting onto the web for public review, which is a very, very healthy thing to happen. And we should continue to standardize on this. And also, transparency and trust demand that there is a level playing field for big tech players as well as the startups, which are just bright ideas but no muzzle. So there should be a level playing field for large and small, outfits. And the fifth principle is one of decentralization. We should not aim at centralized systems. Of course, there were times, even now there are systems which are centrally managed, mainframe systems onwards. But today, the idiom is about decentralization. so that you are de-risking the whole thing and democratizing the whole ecosystem. So there is no central database. There is nobody is you know providing any diktat. So the minimal governance is what is required. Minimal technological governance is what is required. And the last, but I feel is very important, is the principle is one, to promote innovation and competition in this digital space. For transformation, real transformation to happen, it will happen through innovation. Innovative technologies, innovative use of emerging technologies, innovative business models as well are required today. So, and also access to data, a fair, equitable access to data is very important. For which again, open data formats are the immediate need of the our in various sectors. Now, open data formats is really throws up another question, which is they say data is the new oil or beyond new oil. Oil you can use only once, gets exhausted, you have to go for refilling. Whereas data you can use multiple times. So how do you harness? Everyone says that data, is gold. Data is $65 billion, $500 billion, etc. But how do you harness the power of that data? Is a very, very important thing. I feel that, well, there are several components to that, like a data management policy, data protection legislation, etc. On the technology side, also we need open data formats. We need a system of data exchanges and an interoperability framework in all major sectors of the economy, like the healthcare, education, agriculture, social protection, and mobility, and so on. So, on my own personal front, I have been so captivated by this idea of open digital systems and open data format that very recently I have proposed the idea of Agri-JSON, one new data format which is geared and optimized completely for the agriculture sector, for instance, digital agriculture sector. On the building on the principle of JSON and GeoJSON, why not have Agri-JSON? Was the idea. I wrote the spec for it, and it's currently in a draft stage. I'm just mentioning as a possibility that we should be working on. So the future, if I have to sum it in one sentence, is in digital ecosystems and emerging technologies and deployment, responsible deployment of emerging technologies. So I close my intervention by saying that the mantra is interoperability, innovation with protection. And given the size of the country and the complexity of the various issues that we are dealing with, the implementation philosophy should be based on think big, start small, and scale fast. So I am sure that with the collective wisdom, that all the technological prowess that we have, I have no doubt that we have a very bright future, and digital transformation is not merely going to be in words, but it will be increasingly in all the sectors a reality. So thank you. And I thank Economic Times for giving me this opportunity.